This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Here's a particularly quick and easy way to make bangers and mash. There's just 30 minutes between us and this classic comfort food of the Anglo-Celtic Isles. And it could easily be meatless. There's great plant-based sausages on the market now, and my gravy is not going to be based on a meat stock, but on this shockingly delicious yeast extract. I'm using half a kilo, just over a pound of Yukon Gold potatoes for 2 portions. I usually don't peel varieties with smooth, papery skins like this. They don't bother me, and there's a lot of nutrition in there. Just clank those up into small chunks so that they'll boil quickly. In the pot they go, cover with water and the lid so it comes to a boil faster over high heat. Sausage. These are ostensibly Irish bangers. I usually prefer smaller bangers than these. Little bangers cook quicker and get more brown surface area proportionally. I say use absolutely any fresh sausage you like. I do this with spicy Italian sausages all the time. And for the classic onion gravy, I gotta use a shallot instead. A big one like this or a couple smaller ones for a couple portions. Shallots have much thinner layers, so we can caramelize them a lot faster than other onions, especially if we slice them very thin too. A little oil in the pan, get it heating a little less than medium, I'd say, and in the shallots go. The potatoes are boiling, lid off so it doesn't bubble over. The key to caramelizing onions is to never stop stirring them. If you do, the ones on the bottom are going to go crispy while the ones on top are still white. You got to cook them very evenly by moving them, which is fine because we have nothing else to do right now in this process. And because these are shallots, it only takes 5 or 6 minutes to get them like that. That's good enough. And I'm just going to push them all over to the far side of the pan, and it's time to drop a banger. One big one like this per person is enough, I think. Don't forget to nudge those shallots a little bit to make sure they aren't burning on the bottom. In fact, I'm going to push my pan over so they're literally off the heat. And I like to get as much browned area on the sausage casings as possible. You can roll them over, hold them there for a second until they stick to the pan, then let go. Or you can just roll them around continuously. This works just like constantly flipping a steak works. The crust gradually builds all over. I've been browning these for about 7 minutes, again over medium-low heat so I don't burn the fond, which I will now deglaze for my gravy. I'm just using water. We have plenty of sweetness in there already from the caramelized onions, and we're going to get plenty of meaty flavor from Marmite, a byproduct of the British brewing industry. I think it tastes a little weird by itself, but a giant spoonful of it is great in gravy. It's packed with glutamates, all the umami you could need. For thickening, I'm going to use cornstarch. The trick with this is to make a slurry first. I've got a couple of tablespoons there and a little water, and just use your finger to stir that around and smoosh any little lumps you feel in there. We might use all of this, we might not. You got to stir as you drizzle it in or it'll clump hopelessly. It thickens as soon as it approaches a boil. Thicken your gravy as much as you want. I tend to overshoot the mark because it's easier to water it down again later, and I like having a lot of gravy. Grind in a whole bunch of pepper, and lastly, I'm going to put a big spoonful of English mustard in there. If you don't like mustard, I would do a splash of vinegar. You need something to brighten this up. Give it a taste. The Marmite is salty, so we only need a little more salt. And now we can just let those sausages simmer in the gravy until they're cooked inside. Everything is done all at the same time in one pan. Now we got a bunch of green onions here because the flavor of mash I'm making today is known in Ireland as champ. It's mash filled with green onions. I'm slicing them very thin in the white area because those parts need more cooking. As I get up into the greens, I'll cut wider pieces. Potatoes are starting to fall apart when I poke at them. Time to drain them through the pot lid. As big a knob of butter as you can live with. A conservative splash of milk and a pinch of salt for starters. Get that all mashed up. Add more milk if it's too thick. Then in goes all of those green onions. I don't know if it's traditional to use this much for a couple of portions, but I love it. I want it to be like Colcannon, but with onions instead of cabbage. The heat of the potatoes will cook these a bit, knock back some of the pungency, but they'll still be a little crunchy, which I love. It serves as the green vegetable of the meal. Need some more salt, and that's good. Onto the plate with a big well in the center for gravy. You can just cut into the sausage to make sure it's cooked through or take its temperature, 160 Fahrenheit, 70 C, and time for that hot gravy shot. For some reason, I like the more translucent look of cornstarch with bangers and mash as opposed to making a roux with flour. That is a champion winter weeknight meal right there, assembled in 30 minutes, the same time in which you could also build a website with Squarespace. Like the scrolling effect on that gravy shot, it's literally this easy to do in Squarespace. Everything is that easy. You just grab a template for doing whatever you're trying to do on the internet, throw in your photos, or you can use their stock photos, start editing the text, and you're off. Need to add a section that isn't there in the template? What do you need? You need a video embed, you need a form where people can book appointments with you need a button where people can make donations to your cause. Certainly Squarespace handles all the payment processing and that stuff. It's a one-stop shop. You can start building something for free right now, but when it's time to publish your site or register a custom domain, do us both a favor and save 10% at squarespace.com/Ragusia. That's in the description. Thank you, Squarespace, and thank you, Gravy. Whenever winter gets you down, try Gravy. Usually works for me.